My name is Jenna Dykema, and I'll be talking about the film Forrest Gump. The film itself was released on July 6th of 1994 and was directed by a man called Robert Zemeckis. It won a total of 24 awards in the first year that it was released, including an Academy Award for Best Picture, Best Actor with Tom Hanks, Best Writing Adapted Screenplay for Eric Roth, Best Director for Robert Zemeckis, Best Visual Effects, and Best Film Editing. The film was adapted from the book published in 1986 that was written by novelist Winston Groom. After coming out, it only sold about 30,000 hardback copies, but by 1995, after the success of the film, it had sold 1.6 million copies in paperback. The movie to this day holds the number 12 spot on IMDb's top 250 movie chart, but many critics still, just as they did when it was released, find themselves either loving or hating the film. For example, in his 1994 review, Roger Ebert gave Forrest Gump 4 stars and called it a, quote, magical movie, whereas Entertainment Weekly gave it a C rating and said that it, quote, reduced the turmoil of the last few decades to a virtual reality theme park, a baby boomer of Disney's America. This was written about by Garen Perina in an article from mentalfloss.com. Now, although many critics and audience members have made fun of the film, no matter what, the film sucks you in from the second you start watching. Whether it be Forrest teaching Elvis how to swivel his hips, to Forrest as a Vietnam vet showing the C's on his buttocks to LBJ at the White House, it is inevitably a film where no matter what, or no matter who your feeling is on the film itself, you will find yourself watching the entirety of the 2.5-hour film, considering just how unpredictable and amazing it is, especially considering how different the film is from the novel. Of course, contributing to the genius of the film was the casting choice of Tom Hanks as the main character Forrest Gump. No one can sit through a 2.5-hour long film such as Forrest Gump without thinking whoever decided to cast a legend, and that goes for those that either hate the film as well. Now, looking at the actual use of technology throughout the film, the biggest attention catcher was how the special effects of digitally inserting Gump into vintage newsreels and other historic footage was done so flawlessly and seamlessly. Although this was not the first time this had been done by a film crew, it was by far the most seamless transitioning, and it definitely won an Oscar for this reason. The CGI, though, was not the only eye-catching thing that had helped make the film one of the most well-made. What many overlook in the films is the other stunning visual asset, which was Don Burgess's cinematography skills. In the end of the film, for example, there is a shot of Robin Wright kneeling at the earth in front of the shack in Alabama where she grew up with an abusive father. This scene is so, quote, heartbreakingly gorgeous, as stated by Ben Savitsky in an article for the BBC, and thanks to Don Burgess, those that had focused so much on Forrest Gump throughout the entire film were able to be set back into reality and realizing that Jenny is just as vital of a character as Forrest throughout the entire film as well. These are a few pictures from the film. One is behind the scenes, of course, of just Tom Hanks playing Forrest Gump. This one takes place at the China's Ping Pong Democracy, in which Forrest is seamlessly placed into this, and he further finds his passion in it and gets interviews and becomes even more famous than he already is. This one is taken at the iconic location of the anti-war rally called March on the Pentagon, which, of course, many of us know and recognize from the Martin Luther King speech. and that took place on October 21st of 1967. The ability to place Tom Hanks as Forrest Gump throughout all these scenes and all these newsreels and all these vintage historic film was incredible, and something that to this day many people have not been able to recreate to the high standard that Robert Zemeckis was able to portray and visually allow the audience to indulge in so properly and show such respect to the historical events that occurred. And for many that have not heard anything about history, I know for a fact that they might watch this movie and be like, wow, I didn't know Tom Hanks made a speech at the March on the Pentagon. It's just that good. Now, many still ask, why is Forrest Gump still so well known? Why is it that movie that everyone knows exactly what you're talking about the second that you say it? Now, there are many reasons why Forrest Gump beat not only Pulp Fiction, but Shawshank Redemption, Quiz Show, and Four Weddings and a Funeral for Best Picture at the 1995 Oscar Award Show. The film is just as unconventional as Pulp Fiction. Eric Roth's screenplay ignores all the formulas of filmmaking, and the movie unfolds none like a modern novel more than a motion picture. It's a film with no villains, no conflict, and no overarching tension throughout. Instead, its hero and main character is Forrest Gump, a man with an IQ of 75 who wanders through the second half of the 20th century, all while randomly bumping into one historical event after another. Whether it be standing next to George Wallace at the schoolhouse door in Alabama in the 1950s, to investing stock in, quote, some kind of fruit company called Apple in the 1970s. Which, fun fact, according to Cult of Mac, Forrest Gump's investment in Apple would be worth a casual $28 billion today. Now, many would say that the film Forrest Gump was childish, torture to sit through for 2.5 hours, and not at all worth it. While others would consider it to be genius, their first pick in any movie night, and an everlasting piece of art. Now, there is a reason behind this controversy, just like there is a reason as to why the film still gets quoted to this day, no matter whether you hate it or not. And that reason is that life is like a box of chocolates. Everybody has their favorites. This has been my talk on Forrest Gump, the film, and I hope that you get to go out and watch Forrest Gump for yourself if you haven't already. And whether you like it or you hate it, we all have to accept that Forrest Gump will forever be known as a classic and one of the staples in film history.